for coming on the show. This is great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we start?
So I'm an independent artist. I've been selling my work online for about 4 years now. And I've gained a pretty great following from that, and it's very exciting. I am a mom of 2, and I have an art history degree.
Cool. That's so cool. So, how did you get into your line of work?
So I have always loved artwork. I did study psychology, though, going into college. I was about a year away from getting that degree when it just didn't feel right, so I switched my major to art history, not studio art, just studying art and its history. And then I had my daughter 2 weeks before I graduated college, and I wanted to stay home with her, and while I was home with her, I started to paint and put it online, and people wanted to buy it and commission me, so I decided to make it my career.
It's amazing. So, how did you end up building your platform to get more recognition?
That's a whole nother art form in itself, right? It's really hard.
Yeah.
I think there was just a lot of trial and error to begin with, but really following other influencers who are Instagram gurus or TikTok gurus and taking on their advice and applying it is what helped me with my following. As far as finding clients and stuff like that, which is more important than the following, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. Where you want to make a living. Really authenticity, being myself, having the courage to be disliked, and put yourself out there. You attract more people who are like you, and they want to buy your work. So that's amazing.
That's great. How do you think math works hand in hand with your art?
Oh gosh, I remember getting this question, and I had to think about it for a long time. Because it's, it's so inundated in what we're doing, but you don't really think about it in your day-to-day life, but it's everywhere, right? So I would say, obviously, on the business end of it with finances, but that's blatant, As far as the actual creation, though, I think the majority of when I see that I'm using math is in composition. So the eye tends to like things that are in the thirds. So I'll have to divide the canvas up, and sometimes when I first started, I would actually divide my canvas up into thirds so that I could make sure that my subject matter was in that third region. And then a lot of the time when you're drawing murals, when I have the really large murals that I'm working on, I have to grid everything out, and I have to make sure the measurements are exactly precise, otherwise it's all going to be wrong, So I would say that that's the majority of the math that I experience in my work.
Wow, that's actually something new that I learned today, because I had no idea.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's really great. It's a good technique too. And I learned that in high school.
Wow.
Not in college.
So what mediums do you use in your art? Can you tell us a bit about your art in general?
Yeah. So I use acrylic paints mostly, and I also use watercolors and colored pencils and things of that nature, but mostly I'm an acrylic painter. I like to paint on things that are unexpected. I like to paint on glass or records or anything that I can reuse or find at a thrift shop. I was painting on jackets for a long time. Most of my work is on canvases. I live wedding paint, so I go to weddings and I paint the ceremony as it's being done.
Oh wow.
I normally want those on.
I've seen that on TikTok. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Those are so cool.
Yeah, it's
so
fun.
amazing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's a really fun career.
Could you show us an example of your work, just for the camera purposes?
I grabbed a few. Okay, so I know that
Thank you.
That one.
That's so beautiful.
Wow.
That one's on a record right?
Yeah, this one's on a record.
That's my absolute favorite of yours. Like,
I have a whole stack. I think I counted them one day, and it's like 150 records.
Wow.
Wow.
I got them all for $4.
That's amazing.
They're like 2-cent records. They're terrible. And some of them are really scratched up. So it's perfect for painting and repurposing. And then I got some of my glass work out here. This is going in my current shop update.
oh wow.
Oh, wow.
So that's some glass. And then I've got another one here. It's probably really indicative of my work.
Oh, that's
Oh, that's
pretty.
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and like you can see the symmetry there.
Yeah,
It's like-
yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's
Mad.
good. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't have anything on canvas because normally people who buy canvases that I've already shipped them out. So I don't
Yeah.
know. There's one in the background.
So what classes, if any, did you take to actually improve your art, or was it all sort of like self-taught?
Yeah, so a lot of my actual art was self-taught, I would say. However, I did take studio classes in high school. I had to take electives, obviously, in college, and I always chose art. But most of them were kind of beginner courses. I would say, though, having an art history degree, of course, that helps my process, you know? I feel like I'm coming to the table with a lot more theory, art theory, where a lot of studio artists who go through college and go through the classes come to the table with trying to find their individual voice in artwork. So I come to it with a more collective, wholesome approach, I think, which makes it interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. So in high school or college, what was your favorite subject in math? Like, in the math field?
Geometry. Yeah, which I guess makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier. And there was a lot more usage of the spatial mind, and I think that that's something that I was interested in. So yeah, I really enjoyed geometry.
That's great.
So how do you think that your job shaped your life? Like, how was it incorporated?
My job, how is being an artist shaping my life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, so it's a little unconventional, right? You don't hear many people say I make a living off of my artwork, and I think that's there's still a stigma around it where people think it must be a side gig. So there's that whenever I'm around other adults that have typical careers. Not everybody's like, oh, you're a CPA or something, and everybody's like, they know what that is. But there's a disconnect there, so sometimes it can be a little difficult to talk about my career with other people unless they're also creatives. So I find myself attracted to other creatives in general. So I've kind of surrounded myself with a lot of artists, a lot of photographers, and that's my pool of people. Also interesting working from home.
Right.
That's very different. I know we're all doing that during this pandemic.
Yeah.
I feel like I have everybody on board with me now. Before the pandemic is not many people work from home. So yeah, I would say that there's a little bit of a disconnect, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's great.
Right.
You know?
It must be nice to be home and be able to do what you want, you know?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. I wouldn't trade it, but it definitely has its uses.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This is great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Au revoir.